There was a cartel military skirmish in Mexico, and there was some shots fired, and some were coming onto our side and hitting into the college campus area, and they had to lock down the school.
Good watchdog, gentle with the kids, didn't bother anybody. I found the dog hanging upside down by his heels, alive. But he'd been skinned alive, and they had hung his hide right next to him, and he was still alive. I went into the house, I got a couple of things, I wrapped him up, wrapped it over the pistol, and I had to put him down.
Yeah.
I took him away and I buried him, and I lied to the girls, and I said, no, old Foot here, he just decided to go someplace else.
Yeah.
And I found out this is what they were doing to the neighborhood to keep the people shut up.
I'm standing next to the University of Texas, Rio Grande Valley, Brownsville, Texas.
I was looking at the topographical map, and there's a big gap. I'm going like on the map. Why is there a big gap? The college is right there, so we went down and investigated. We drove right down to the Rio Grande from the college, from the main road, right down past the college maintenance building and the ROTC building of UT, and right to the Rio Grande, a nice road, gravel road, mowed fields, right to the Rio Grande. There's no fence, there's no border, there's no gates.
I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic. When the wall was coming in this direction, as you can see it right here, it looks real nice and pretty, and it's got barbed wire, and it's kind of difficult to navigate.
Had a lot of pushback from the local, whether it be the landowner or the university, not wanting us to infringe on their property or infringe on their rights. So everything gets tied up in a court case, and then ultimately gets bypassed. And so with that one, I know in that area they had a lot of problems with the university about putting it in certain areas.
How about if we build a pretty fence? We build a fence ourselves. And the government said, okay. My friends, this is what they built. That looks like something that, I don't know, maybe you had in your backyard growing up to keep your dog in. It's a regular fence that any man, woman, or child is perfectly capable of climbing right the hell over. All right, you should be able to start seeing the water now. And there's the Rio Grande. You can take a raft across it. You can wade across it. You can swim across it. Hell, in some spots, you can just get a run and jump start and hop across it. Watch as we show you the rest of the tour between the Rio Grande and this campus.
The campus is just over that rise, right there. And that's the campus. That's the old golf course is right there, and the stadium is right there.
The actual wall fencing was built under the Bush administration. And look, it's going to stop somebody. Although if they wanted to get across it bad enough, they could actually do that. But why even waste your damn time when you can just hop over that one?
So basically the university tells you to pack sand about building any kind of wall. They said nothing?
Yeah, well, you know, I mean, within reason, you know, if the government wants it, ultimately they're going to get it. But as we see now with what's going on just with the news the last couple of days, they're going to tie it up in some type of legal process, and it's going to take a little longer to get out there.
But the border's been there for 200 years.
Yeah.
Okay, this is nothing new. There's nothing there. There's no fence. There's no signs. There's no even signs from the Rio Grande. You're now entering the United States. The college won't even let you put up perimeter signs of, because I know in the fence they have property in the United States, you're entering the United States, and what are the blurb that they have on the, I don't see any of that
Yeah,
what looks like to be the college area, maybe I want to say maybe 2-click area, that there's no signs, no fence, no anything.
Newer footprint after the rain. Right here. There's more. There's actually some going this way and some going that way. So if it rained at night, perfect overcast, they bebopped over. You have footprints going back and forth, so they brought whatever they were bringing and either went back over or they were lost and they were walking back and forth. Very few cameras. There was one back there where the real fence was, cameras in that post. I saw one camera right out here at the corner, but there's probably a spot of at least a click where there's no way they can overlay the cameras, and especially down this bank in this defilé into the river, they can't, the high vegetation is up. You couldn't spot anyone until they actually hit the road.
So it gets down here to the campus, and they decide that because it's run by a far-left liberal by the name of the president and dean at the time was Juliet Garcia.
Juliet Garcia and I graduated the same year. I graduated in 1966. She had the audacity to get up on stage one day and tell everybody, "You all don't understand. God is not necessary in the world." And she went to work. She got her degree. She went to work at Southmost, and they bought her home from her, and then she lived in it rent-free, plus she was getting a living allowance for living in her own home from the college. And her car was provided for, and everything that you can think of. She was doing everything. If I tried to do that, they wouldn't have me strung up in one tree. They'd find the whole line of telephone poles and hang me from them. She bragged about how good it is to be outrageously unlawful. I don't buy that. When you take a college which has helped educate you and then use them as your personal bank account, no.
As the dean of this university, we believe that it's not politically correct to put a wall up. For goodness sakes, then that shows the people in Mexico, which happens to be, let's see, right there.
Someone could jump across the Rio Grande, dressed like a college kid, walk onto the campus, and no one would know except for their shoes are wet.
Oh, and on top of that, it's probably done 10, 15, 20 times a day that happens.
At times, that water's, maybe 2 or 3 foot deep. We've had a little bit of rain here lately, so it's a little bit up higher, but right now, most of the times, I feel pretty sure I could walk across that right now. But at times it's only maybe waist deep.
The other thing is I've seen things down here. You can put a sign up there, but if it's not welded in there, it's gone within the hour.
Put your shoes in a plastic bag, and we see articles of clothing every once in a while. I don't know what that is. I'd wear shorts, peel them off, have your pants in a plastic bag, which there's shit ton of plastic bags laying around. Put on your pants and your dry shoes, and guess what? You're in America.
It shows them that we're not diversified. It shows them that we don't look at them as the same type of humans that we are. So we must not put a wall up around our campus. There's no reason for that.
The fact that she had this presence to refuse the design necessary to protect the college students from the illegals coming through.
Fort Brown is less than 2 clicks away from where we are right now. And the other checkpoint is less than 4 clicks away from where we are right now. So we're basically in between 2 of the most major ports of entry, and we have this great big hole in the wall that...
Look to your right at that piece of clothing tied off on a branch.
Where's that?
What's he talking about? Oh, right there.
Marking something.
And that would be somewhat fresh. It looks like it's just hung. No, it's not wet. Oh my God. It's even better. Those are called shamags. You wrap them around your neck. And, but that's Middle Eastern.
We just come across a Muslim scarf that was hanging in a tree marking a particular area, and we stopped and talked to a border patrol agent, which is right behind us over here, who does not want to go on camera to talk about this, and that's totally fine. Here you can see where it was made. And so, anyhow, tell us, Mike, what did the agent happen to share with you?
I walked up to him, introduced myself, and I said, hey, we had an interesting find that we just happened to find right while we were walking on the bank of the Rio Grande, and I showed him what it was, showed him where it was made at. And he said, oh yeah, that's nothing. We just caught a bunch of Pakistanis and Iranians. And I said, really, Iranians? What happened to the Iranians? He said, I don't know. Next day, the men in suits came and they were gone. And I said, well, what happened to them? He said, nobody knows. And I said, you sure they were Iranians? He said, yeah, they were Iranians. They were sitting on the road as the Border Patrol was doing their normal check ride through this area that has no fence and has no gate, and they came up on them and they surrendered right away. And of course they brought them to Brownsville, which is less than 2 clicks away, and I guess someone identified them as Iranian, and I'm sure they put that on the paperwork, which threw up red flags everywhere. And the next day men in suits came and got them, which is not the normal process of doing the paperwork of coming into America and claiming asylum, and they're gone. And he nor any of his superiors know where they went. They're gone. Men in suits, men in black suits.
And
So,
just like back in April when we were down here, and I shared that similar story, that they're finding mixed in with the groups that are coming across the Rio Grande, Muslims, from people from Muslim countries, from Iran, from people from Cuba, all over the world. They can't come in any other way because they'd be flagged, but they can go into Mexico or Central and South America and then come up and cross this border. And thankfully to our men and women in law enforcement down here, they were able to apprehend this group of Iranians. Now, how many have managed to come across that we don't know about? They're in America right now plotting another terrorist attack.
Do you see the cartel working with Muslims, working with Middle Easterns, training them? I've heard through the grapevine.
I've heard of it. I haven't. I mean, I don't know what goes on over there, but I don't doubt it, because the governing system over there is the almighty dollar.
Yeah.
And whoever's paying, they don't have any allegiance to us.
I hear what they do is they give them a crash course in Spanish. Okay, 20 foot away, a Middle Eastern could pass for a Central American, and they teach them just enough Spanish, a week's worth of Spanish. they come over with money. So they teach them a week's worth of Spanish, and then they inject them into a group that's going over.
Yeah, and they can get by.
And they can get by with it. They speak just barely enough Spanish to act stupid, and then they get in with the group, and they write country of origin, they write Honduras and Nicaragua.
And they can even go a little farther and just teach them a little Portuguese and say they're Brazilian. Because I wouldn't be able to break them in Spanish.
Right.
But, with the Portuguese, I mean, how the hell do I know if you speak
Unless
Portuguese
you have
or not? Yeah.
Yeah.
And these guys are very sophisticated. And unlike us, they don't have a budget.
Right. But they have big budget.
No, they don't have budget constraints like we do.
Right.
They're able to work, do what they got to do. They have people on our side, the people on their side. It's a very involved process, and they're very good at what they do. I mean, we know a lot of people from the Middle East are coming over because we find it in the pocket trash we find on the landings and stuff. We'll see it in the clothing tags. If it's written in obviously a different language. I mean, anything can say made in China,
Arabic,
but if it's written in Arabic, obviously,
Not a lot of stuff says made in Saudi
Yeah,
Arabia.
and especially if it's written in Arabic or whatever, or the passports or discarded receipts, you can tell a lot from the
prayer mats, Korans.
We have seen some prayer mats. I don't think we've seen any Korans, but we haven't seen a lot of it. But we have seen it,
Right.
and I think that's the thing is. I had a reporter ask me one time. She said, "Well, it's proven that only in the past 4 years we've only apprehended 12 known terrorists coming in the country." And I told her, I said, "Well, I mean, how many do you want? Isn't one just too many? One can give you a really bad day.
Yeah.
I mean, 12 is a nightmare."
They offered her the money to say, okay, we'll just build it. She had a better deal. She went and got a grant from the government to put up that fence. It's decorative. It's pretty.
Everybody can climb right over.
Of course.
This went back and forth, and it ended up in court, everyone, all right? And they were able to come to a peaceful negotiation and a decision of how they would allow the university to protect themselves from the drug traffickers, the MS-13 gang members, human trafficking. Any man, woman, or child is perfectly capable of climbing right the hell over with no issues or problems whatsoever. Yep, wonderful wall they did there. Now, if that isn't bad enough, what an eyesore. On our way out from where we're at right now, we're going to show you how close we are to the Rio Grande, and we're going to show you the homes and everything else right on the other side of the border. And we're going to keep the camera rolling as we drive right onto the campus and right through this fencing where there's no gate. That's right. What good did it do to even put a fence up? And our government allowed them to do this. Not only did we allow them to put a fence up that's not going to stop anyone from coming over the top of it, but it's not going to stop them from going onto the campus in a vehicle if they did it that way. Let's say took an ATV across the Rio Grande, which, by the way, here, as you will see shortly, is a very small area. You can wade across the damn thing. So you can then drive or walk right through the campus with nobody stopping you. You don't even have to worry about climbing this fence if you don't like climbing. Maybe you're afraid of heights and you don't want to go up 6 feet. So, follow it around until you get to the big ass opening where you can just walk right on onto the campus.
Remind me about an incident that happened some time ago about the shots being fired from Mexico and landing into the university. Is that correct?
Yeah, I think there's a golf course over in that area, and there was a cartel military skirmish in Mexico, and there was some shots fired, and some were coming onto our side and hitting into the college campus area, and they had to lock down the school. It was some years back, but not too distant.
Right, but it's not uncommon even now, especially right now. Do you hear shots?
Oh yeah,
all the time. I mean,
working on the river, you'll hear them a couple times a week. You know, you're out there, and at first you're kind of like, oh, hey, crap, let's get the hell out of here. And then after a while, you just kind of look around like, I don't see any muzzle flashes. I'll just kind of continue to eat my lunch. So you kind of get numb to it, but you
No
see,
whizzes.
yeah, you get kind of lulled to sleep by it, but it happens quite a bit. It's very common, especially in this area. You have the Gulf Cartel, you have the Zetas trying to, test them from time to time, and the cartel's always splitting with each other, and then the military. So there's constant fights on the Mexican side, and unfortunately, it's gotten all too common.
The drug cartel, right on the other side of where I'm standing, was shooting back and forth at each other, and bullets were flying onto the campus. So, it is my guess that the liberal snowflakes that run the UT of Texas here, their big issue is that no one's been killed yet. So I ask, how many children would need to be kidnapped by the cartel or shot and killed on this campus for the campus to give two shits about their students' protection?
This is the whole thing. This departure from honesty, the departure from sane activities is wrong.
Yeah.
And if she doesn't like it, I'm sorry. I'm 72, come looking for me.
So this is what happens when you allow liberals to be in charge of our education system. Liberals like Juliet Garcia, who in her ultimate wisdom convinced the rest of the board of directors for the college to build a pretty fence that anybody can climb over, even a little kid, and then leave a wide open gap where we can drive a freaking tank through it, much less somebody walking through it with their drugs or their weapons. And while they're on the campus, coming across our vulnerable children. She's one of the many, sadly, that have lost all history about our founding fathers and how our country was built and designed for them to leave for us to grow on the best place on this planet. And they just wipe their ass with it.
That's it.
It's like the Constitution means nothing to them. So sadly, it's just a matter of time before a student at this university is injured or affected in some way, shape, or form with the drugs or the sex trafficking, or worse, an MS-13 gang member that does bad things to them. And when that happens, well, their blood is going to be on Miss Garcia's hands. This is unacceptable in America. And this is what we're up against, fighting every day across this border with liberals that are running the cities and the colleges. We're going to make sure that the governor of this state of Texas is aware of what's happening on this campus, because this is a big frickin' problem. And if you don't think that's a problem, well, then you're anti-American. We have this solution that we've come up with. We're working with numerous different people on this project. It's called the Terror Block System, and it's a rapid deployment wall that we're already using to protect our troops over places like Afghanistan and Iraq. They believe they could have this wall, the border finished before Election Day for under $1 billion. We're going to share with you, we'll send you the video of this for you to look at, but this thing is amazing. You can't climb it, you can't penetrate it, and it's got what's called the PID system in it, where it's electronic wise, where we'll let people know, let Border Patrol agents, whoever's monitoring it, know where people are at when they're up against that fence system. But the other thing that we are trying to push for is, you can't take active duty U.S. service members and put them on the border. But we can activate, the president has the authority to activate the National Guard, and bring them down, Title 31 orders. And our thought process would be to help supplement you guys, help maybe as response teams to monitor this new wall system, get it in place, especially if we can do it before the election time gets here. Is that something you guys would welcome? Finish this wall, and then at the same time be able to have the National Guard. And we're obviously talking, we wouldn't be talking about, clerk people, we'd be talking about, like military police units that are trained to help augment you guys and help, besides just support roles, be able to monitor sections that you guys can't get to because you don't have the manpower.
Yeah, we've had National Guard down here in a capacity similar to that, maybe not all the way, but a lot more than what they're doing now.
Yeah.
And I like working with those guys. Those guys there, and gals there, they're hardworking folks, and they're volunteers. They're coming down here, doing it for much less than what we get. And it's great to see them down here. I'd love to work with them. I'd love to have them down here. It's unfortunate that it's gotten to that point, but I think that would be something to explore if they would take the handcuffs off them and let them get out there and play. As far as the wall system's concerned, on the surface, sounds great. I think it's definitely something that should be considered and looked into. I think the only thing off the top of my head that may be concerning is being able to tunnel under it, but I'm sure there's a fix for everything. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I guess we can, the concrete walls going up, they can probably tunnel
Oh
under
yeah.
that.
They can.
It's easy.
I think like in the McAllen area where we're good is we have a river system.
Right.
So it's kind of hard to tunnel under a river.
Yeah.
So I think something like that in an area like this where you just have the right combination, it should be.
Yeah.
It should be
a deterrent. It's gonna, if nothing else, it's gonna slow the process of someone coming.
Yeah, and
across
I think
the border.
that's the key is you can't stop everything, but if you can slow it down enough to get reinforcements there to either apprehend it or eventually turn it back, then that's because the wall, it's not a one stop. This is gonna fix everything and take all our jobs. You're gonna need agents on the ground. We can't have them holding hands from San Diego to Brownsville.
Exactly.
So if it's something that can deter them, slow them down, get us in there, and make us more effective, I think it's great.
We've had enough people lose their lives, be it regular Americans or in law enforcement, by those that shouldn't have been here in the first place. So, as always, please say a prayer for our men and women serving the United States military, our veterans, our law enforcement officers, our first responders, their families served too. Our Blue and Gold Star families, those families that have lost their lives, or have loved ones that have lost their lives to illegal immigration. Say a prayer for our president and our country. God bless you all. I'm Douglas Ducote, and I'll talk to you soon. I, Douglas Ducote, an American patriot by the grace of God, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America from enemies foreign and especially domestic.